Hello, Sarah.
Hey.
Here we are again on the part two Boo
hmm
Takeover of Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast.
Yes, we are.
And we've got some mad stuff to talk about tonight.
What a last few weeks it has been.
It has indeed. It has indeed.
hmm
So,
Yep.
are
I actually don't
we?
even know where to begin
I know, I
because it's
know. We
so chunky.
and where we've been talking about this, doing this episode for the last couple of days, and trying to put it in some kind of order.
Mm.
And this episode is almost like um, the prelude to our workshop at Spooks and Spirits Fest
Mm.
on
And I'm,
Saturday.
yeah, and I'm really hoping that people understand all of this and it makes sense
Yeah,
because it's very complex,
it's very complex and there's a
what
lot
we
of
are about to
information.
say.
Yeah, there's a lot of information, and we decided that we would get this episode out as soon as possible this week so that if people are coming to Priest Cottage on Saturday, we have got, how long have we got on Saturday for our workshop?
I think it's 45 minutes, but
And
we're going to have to condense down the PowerPoint at the beginning.
yeah,
Mm,
so the point of this episode is for us to do a slightly longer version of our explanation of our theory.
mm. Yeah. So if
And
anyone wants to know a bit more in advance or even after Saturday, they can listen to this and we don't need to go over it again and again.
yeah, happy to talk to people about it, but this is our way of getting it all down in a structured way, because the way we've been discussing it together for the last few weeks, or at least a few weeks, it's been longer than that, but it's started to come together the last few weeks, has been very fragmented. And as we've been,
Mm.
something else would happen, and then that would slightly change things, and something else would happen, and we'd try something else, and something else would happen, and we would be like, okay, we need to try
hmm
and get it in some
Yeah.
kind of order. We'll get it down in audio form so people can digest it at their leisure,
hmm And
because
there's loads of branches coming off it now as well. So, like, we can go through the basics and the start of some of the little branches that we've now started to develop off this theory. There's a lot.
there is a lot. And for people that don't know us, I'm one half of Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast. You're one half of To Investigate UK. And we've been working on this together for some time now. And we'll start at the beginning in a minute and explain how we even got to where we're trying to get to. And that's quite
hmm
cryptic, but you'll see what we mean soon. And it's only when we've been looking over in prep that we realise that certain things that have happened have kind of helped us improve our theory. And this
Mm.
weekend has really got us to that point.
Oh yeah, it's stepped it up a notch. This weekend has actually showed us or shown us that we're in the right direction. We're going in the right way with it, and we could be onto something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So
if
should we start
if
right at the beginning? Right at the
yeah.
beginning.
So to those that haven't pieced it together already, this is the telephone line theory.
Yeah. And when we start explaining it, hopefully people will go, ah, that makes sense.
Yes. Hmm.
But what
Oh.
we, so for people that don't know about Boo and Beyond Our Ordinary, we started almost a year ago now. It's
Hmm.
mad that the transformation of Boo for the over the last 12 months. And we started looking at, because we're paranormal investigators, we looked at 3D printed equipment that we could use that was affordable for people and they could use it on investigations.
Hmm.
And that's where we started 12 months ago. Didn't realize that 12 months later that our core, for want of a better phrase, items that we now sell are a world away from the original tripwire EMF meter that we started doing. And we've gone on a journey, really, of discovery, self discovery as well, because
Mm.
we look at Beyond Our Ordinary as more of a brand. And as you can see, when the theory, we start talking about the theory, you'll see that it's almost forced us to change where we're going with this a little bit.
Hmm.
We,
It's
we
almost becoming a research team, almost
yeah,
a bit of an approach to investigating rather than just an equipment company. There's more
mm.
to it.
And there's more to us. And if you see our
Yeah.
videos on TikTok, you'll see that we do some funky dancing and stuff like that. So we we we're paranormal investigators at heart, though. We absolutely are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And through personal loss for both of us
Hmm.
of a parent, um, it
It's driven this a little
it's
bit.
driven. Yes, it has. Yeah, it has. And this weekend really blew it all
Hmm.
up in my eyes
Yeah,
of what we're
yeah,
doing is the right thing.
yeah. We will get to it further down the line. So we urge anyone listening to bear with us and stick with us through this because Greg's been trying for 34 years to hear from his dad. And we
Yep.
think that through our theory and putting our theory into practice, that we may have cracked those first little dribbles of contact and connection.
Let's just say it's a little nugget of tease,
Hmm.
3.5 minutes in 2 sessions over the weekend. I've got more
Mm.
from essentially 7 minutes over the weekend than having
Hmm.
34 years
Yeah, all because of this theory.
because of this theory and
Yeah,
our experiments.
yeah. So, should we delve into it? Should we get
Yeah.
going?
Let's go
Let's
right back to the
start right
beginning.
in the bottom. Start
Go
at the
right
bottom of
back
the
to,
pit.
go on.
So, it all started with a discussion that we had, again, between me and Greg, and we were thinking about our equipment and what makes our equipment different. And we decided that we were selling watts. So we have a, a sort of theory to put different types of equipment into different categories. So, for example, cues are pieces of equipment that tell you that a change has happened.
Yeah.
Not necessarily paranormal, but that there's a change brewing, something's fluctuated. Think your REM pods, pressure sensors, temperature sensors, things like that. It's a cue that something paranormal might be happening. What are what we wanted to focus on? And they're things that an actual event that has happened. So a break in the tripwires that we sell. Something's gone through the tripwires and created an event, or a
Hmm.
word being generated. Something's happened. And that was where we wanted to focus on the what's. And then we started thinking about the whys and why things happen. And are we the are we sort of a trigger? Is it our perception? Are we needed in
hmm
order for this to all be paranormal? And that we decided that paranormal only becomes meaningful and only becomes paranormal when we understand the whys behind the whats and the cues.
Yeah.
Are you
And it,
still with us, listeners? Are you still with us? Because even that one little bit
yeah, and it does
is a
make
lot.
sense. So you got the cues, the whats, and the whys, and it's the whys that are driving all of this for us.
Yeah, it is the context
The
and the reasons.
the context is what makes it paranormal.
hmm
And we'll come on
Yeah.
to this now that it's it's difficult to. The next section will tell you exactly, and I think it will explain it. But also as part of the whys, some of the reasonings and the reason we've taken this angle is we wanted to know why did that happen to the person that happened to when it happened in the place it happened
And in that way.
and in that way because somebody might say I just heard something, somebody next to them didn't.
hmm
In the podcast we speak to people who've had UFO experiences, multiple people, and they've all had different experiences,
Yeah.
and that again reinforces that only the paranormal becomes meaningful only when you understand why, and that context is everything. What's paranormal to you might not be paranormal to me.
Mm-hmm. It's subjective, isn't it?
It's very subjective.
And it kind of brings us to an example that we might as well address now at this point is
Yep.
one of the turning points for us was an investigation that we went to in the flower shop that first got
Yes.
us thinking,
Yep.
amongst a couple of other occasions, which we can talk about. But when we went to investigate a flower shop in Whitchurch, and it was built on a Roman road, and there were tunnels under the shop that monks used to use. Um, and there's a well there, and there's so much history. There's in this building, and we went to investigate, and there were three of us there,
hmm
and we were using our word bank, our Bucor, and we got in this flower shop pretty much one after the other the word Karen, which is my mum's name, and the word monk, which is my mum's surname. But it was then that we kind of realized that there were three different people in that experience at that time, and that meaning, that word meant different things to each person.
Yep.
And to me, it was a deeply emotional thing and had nothing to do with the flower shop because it was Karen and Monk, and that was my mum's name.
hmm
And to me, it was just my mum. It was emotional and it was my mum. To you, it's mixed because you kind of you perceive it as emotional because you were there, you knew my mum, you knew what I was thinking, but also because of the history of the building and the monks using the tunnels.
hmm
So it had a bit of moderate significance, but it was, you know, not quite as personal. And then Jen, who runs the flower shop, who owns the flower shop, for her it was just quite a fleeting word, monk. It related to the monks under the tunnels, and it was only a tiny part of the history of the building. It meant nothing else to her. And that was the first time we thought about these, how that was paranormal to say two of us in some way out of the three and in different ways.
hmm
And so that got us really thinking about this whole why. Why? Again, the whys. Why was that paranormal? And how it's subjective and it's your paranormal. And yeah, just one of the examples that we had on
Because
that.
it's interesting because had Um, had it been like, say, a public event, for example, and Jen
Hmm.
didn't know you, you didn't know me, that neither of us knew each other,
Hmm.
and those words come through, I could have discounted the word Karen because it meant, at that point, would have meant nothing to me because I
Yeah.
didn't know you, I wouldn't have known your history.
Hmm.
Monk, maybe if I didn't know the history, I wouldn't have necessarily known the monk.
Yeah.
To Jen, absolutely, and you even more so.
Hmm.
So it's that the words are the meaning, the context is the paranormal meaning to
Yeah.
you. So you, if we'd have only had those two words come through the whole night, I could have gone
Hmm.
away potentially and gone, oh, it turns out there were monks there. And I'd have had
Yeah.
kind of an almost a paranormal thing. I'd have gone, yeah. Jen would have gone, oh, that was a bit of a hit on the
Yeah.
location. And then you would have gone back to your family and friends and gone, oh my God, my mum's name come through. But
Yeah.
had we not spoken about it afterwards and just
Hmm.
gone our own separate ways,
Yeah.
we would have had three different experiences that
Hmm.
night.
Yeah.
Mine, potentially not even paranormal to me at that point,
Yeah.
not knowing anything.
Exactly.
You having this profound experience and Jen having
Hmm.
an experience. So it
Again.
is
Yeah.
all subjective. And that
Hmm.
proves that point.
It
One
is.
thing I wanted to lead just before we went to the flower shop was when we were at Priest Cottage and
Hmm.
you were
This is
watching the
where
live
context comes into it. Mm.
100%. And this was me and Ash were there. You were watching the live
Hmm.
as you do, cheerleader for
Whoop,
Pursuit of the
whoop.
Paranormal. And
G-R-E-G.
and we were getting the word apple through. And me and Ash were just like, why is the word apple coming through?
Hmm. A lot. It's
A
coming through a
lot.
lot.
And we had it through on the spirit box, we had it through on a boo core. It was coming through multiple times. It was just like, what the hell is apple all about? And it was only when you kindly Googled it, apple, priests, and church, that we discovered the link that apple was like a word that was used
Hmm.
for
Like a
children.
historical reference for children
Yeah,
that was quite biblical as well. It was used
yeah,
a lot of in a lot of texts as well, like a lot of older books. I mean, terms like apple of my eye,
yeah,
like it's an older reference for children.
yeah. And when you text me it, because obviously we're
Hmm.
on the live stream and I can see the text coming through,
Hmm.
and then boom, it goes from just a word on the screen of apple to boom, it has a meaning associated with this location.
Hmm. Yeah, the context added everything, didn't it? It
The
completely changed everything.
context made it paranormal.
It did.
So
And
yeah,
then
just wanted to cover that a little bit. Sorry.
yeah, no, it's fine. And then we had another example that now this is where it really changed for us, and we started really thinking about this theory. Is now we have had results on our boo core that we cannot explain. Now, obviously, we code it. It's a coded device. It has to be. It's an electronic device.
Hmm.
We code it to go off in certain circumstances and certain atmospheric changes. But what we cannot code is why it selects that word, and it
Right.
random shuffles between each word. And every time it detects a change that's maybe not quite hit the threshold to fire a word out, but it will randomize the words again every time it detects something. Um, so it's constantly randomizing these words. And we always get weird, specific results. And this particular time was at Lost Soul Paracon, wasn't it? And
Hmm.
we were we had the boo core out, we talked about the boo core, and Dan Spragg and Adam Oakley were there, and they came over to have a look. And Dan Spragg picked up the boo core, and as soon as he did, his son's name came through. Noah, I think it was Noah.
Hmm.
And it was like, why? Why did that name, of all names in that device, it chose to bring up Noah at that point, and we started then thinking about the person using it. And again, context is everything because that would have meant nothing had it not been his son. but it chose him in that moment, and we don't know why, but it's a great gateway, it's a great avenue for communication, and it was direct communication. Who from? We don't know, but there was something about the person, and we'll go into it deeper again shortly about this theory and why it didn't matter where he was, but he had the person there in that moment, and that word came through. So then we dug a bit deeper and started thinking about why things happen. And this is where we came up with the telephone line theory. So bear with us on this because this is where it gets muddier.
Yeah, it
So
does.
pause it now. Go and get a cup of tea. Go and get a cup of tea or something stronger and get ready to be absolutely mind blown at this theory.
As we have for the last few weeks and months. So, introduction
Mhm.
to the telephone line theory.
Here
Here
we
we go.
go. I'm not
We
sure how we
believe,
got this though. I don't know how we set this first initial theory about what you're about to describe with the three avenues. I'm not sure how we got there, but we did.
yeah, because I think where we discovered like Apple at the location, so we knew that location was important.
Hmm.
Dan Spragg, we knew that the person was important,
Hmm.
and then we thought maybe an object. So
Hmm.
I've been trying to communicate or get a message from my dad for 34 years.
Hmm.
Never got one. And I've been taking photographs around everywhere. No, no, nothing at all. And
Hmm.
interestingly, something that was said at Lost Soul Paracon, weirdly by GTI as well, when they were up on stage, they were saying, how come I could try and communicate with Reggie Cray or whichever Cray it was at one of the prisons
Hmm.
because he'd been there.
Hmm.
And we
Yeah.
thought, oh, okay,
Yes, that was it. But that was another thing that sparked us. Yeah.
yeah. And it was, okay, so maybe it's energies. So we were looking at the person,
Hmm.
someone the spirit knew, maybe, an object, maybe something that's connected to them, and a place somewhere meaningful to that person or somewhere where it's had an impact during their life. And it could be anywhere.
Hmm.
And it could be, and that would explain that side of it, why I can't speak to Amber Lynn in my bedroom now, because
Yeah.
there's no meaningful connection to Amber Lynn that I'm aware
Hmm.
of in this room.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we started to talk about this in depth. We travel up and down the country for hours at a time,
Hmm.
and it gives us plenty of time to chat
Mm.
about,
To have this conversation hours and hours, like over and over.
and we do, and then we wish
We
we'd
do.
recorded it because we
Mm.
didn't, and then we come up with some
Hmm.
brilliant scheme and
Hmm.
theory, and we have to try and
Yeah.
go back through our mind's notes to go through it all
Hmm.
again. So
Yes, we do. And I think if you have those three things, so to put it simply before we delve a bit deeper, is that a spirit needs, and there are different versions of spirits that need this. So we have this theory on this is only applicable to recent spirits, recent people that have passed recently. And by that we mean someone who still has someone on this living side that knew them in person. They still have a physical anchor to this world, so they're bound by certain rules. And that is that in order to have direct, relevant, and clear communication with us, they need the person, the object, and the place, the pot. However, during these experiments that we've been doing that we'll talk about in a second, we have started to discover that if you have an emotional line, it replaces the line of something else. So we found that having emotion has replaced the place line of
Yeah.
those three.
Yeah.
And we'll explain why that we think that and why very soon when we delve into the actual experiments. But that acts like emotion acts a little bit like the backup line in the telephone line. It's the backup energy. It's it's something that older spirits don't have.
Yeah.
And emotion is a very strong energy. And because our living energy and our emotion it is so much stronger than a spirit's, these recent spirits have to abound by these rules of three
Mm.
lines.
I
Do you think
think
we should
also,
delve into the older spirits?
yeah. So just to recap, go back to the person object place when we talk about telephone line
Hmm.
theory. This allows a spirit to pick up the telephone line on their end.
Yeah.
We pick up the telephone line on our end, and we have a meaningful communication line between the two.
Mhm.
So that's where we come with the telephone line theory that the spirit has to be able to pick up the phone. We pick up a phone, and only when we're picking up the phone at the same time with certain requisites in place does it allow us to give us a strong communication line. Hence why we called it a telephone line theory.
Yeah, exactly. So going off the back of recent spirits, this is what brings us to older spirits. And we ask the question all the time as investigators, why do we not hear off recent spirits? And the answer is simply, we're not getting the direct line of communication. We're not putting those three phone lines in place to get the gold of communication. Older spirits, when they don't have anybody, so this is our theory on the older side, is that when they don't have anybody here in the living anymore, their phone lines are not as restricted, but they're never going to be clear and direct because they don't have that emotion line, especially. They don't have the person. They may not have the object if needed. They don't have all three, but that emotion is a backup line and will replace one of the others. And if there's no emotion, they're never going to be able to. So these older spirits are kind of, it's like static dial tone. They're picking up their phone and we're picking up the phone, but it's not strong enough. It's not direct enough. So we found this in examples that themed words start happening when there's no emotional connection to someone on the living. We get themed words, and we saw that when Kalani went to Hack Green, he was getting army related words. He was getting like khaki and green and I can't remember what else he got,
He
but
had the
and
word
just
ancient, and because he had some
yeah,
ancient words coming through, it was all
yeah,
a bit.
ancient. It was very themed, wasn't it? And that's because the line was never going to be direct. It dissipates over time. It doesn't become as clear, and eventually it will completely disappear. And that's why we don't see, in our theory, Neanderthal ghosts trying to connect with us or dinosaurs, because their lines have faded so much that they're never going to be able to even pick up the phone anymore, never mind dial someone.
Mhm.
And it's very scatty. It doesn't make sense because it's themed words. We saw it at Priest Cottage with Apple. The direct form of communication would be children, child, boy, girl, but it wasn't. It was Apple. It was a theme. It was the only thing they could select, really, if you think about it in that way.
Mm.
Um, it becomes less direct. And, maybe that's because they are throwing out their phone lines in the hopes that they will get some connection. And that's why you start to see people able to connect to or get results from older spirits all around. different buildings and things
Yeah.
because they're just chucking out their phone lines because they're in a desperate attempt to not be forgotten
Yeah.
because they haven't got that direct line anymore.
And
Um,
we've said how sad that is that they
um,
haven't got that and they're trying to get it and
yeah,
they don't
it
want to
is
be
very sad.
forgotten.
And maybe they put their phone line in as many different places as possible when they're not grounded by certain places and certain people and
Hmm.
certain objects. Maybe, you know, that 14th century Scottish knight can now suddenly anchor himself in lots of different locations where he's been
Hmm.
instead of just his home
Yeah.
or something like that. And that's why we hear a lot from these older spirits than we do the ones that are still relatively recent, because they're the ones that are bound by certain, I say laws of physics.
Yeah.
It's not quite physics, but it's, this laws of this pseudoscience, incomprehensible world.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
But
makes sense. And the more we started talking about it, you go, actually, that makes
mm,
sense. And
yeah,
that's allowed us to form this
yeah.
telephone line theory.
And it supports stone tape theory as well, that the older spirits become more residual because they haven't
Yes.
got direct line. So it's that supports all of that, the footsteps, the knocks, the bangs, things that are replayed. You hear the same things over and over because they're faded into just static noise now. But it also brings us on to people. And just because you have, like me and my sister, lost our mum in May, and I have yet, even through these experiments, have yet to have something direct happen to me where I am like, yeah, that is clear communication
Yeah.
direct to me. In these experiments, obviously we've had a name come through before, but in these experiments, I've yet to have anything. And I wonder, I might be in the right place. I might have the right object. I might not be the right person. Maybe they can only choose one line while they're still anchored. Maybe they can only choose one person and it's Emma or my brother.
Hmm.
And maybe they'd get different results. And that's why you hear mediums say to people, oh, I've got a message, but it's not for you. Or, oh, I think there's someone trying to come through, but I'm not sure. Or because they just can't quite place you with this person, with this line. Your emotion line is not strong enough to that person that you want to come through.
Hmm. And that's actually a good point to make about the fact that mediums, they're not really connected to the person, they're not connected to the object, they're not connected to the spirit, and they're not really connected to the place. And that backs our theory that mediums are like mobile phone networks. They
Yeah.
can replace certain elements of this. And that's why mediums get tired. They have people queuing up to speak to them because these spirits know that
Hmm.
they're a conduit, they're like a mobile phone.
Mm.
And that supports the telephone line theory that they can
Yeah.
be the location bit. Somebody will turn up. I say, for example, I could go to a medium, chances are I'll take a photo, take something off my dad's. Most
Hmm.
people take something.
Yeah.
So the
And
person, the
mediums say
object's there.
that as well. They
Yeah.
know
And the,
that. They know.
yeah, absolutely. And the person's there, me, the object's there, whatever it is of my dad's, and the place is replaced by the medium. The
Yeah.
medium uses emotion and the energy that he or she has got to
Hmm.
create that third line or the
Hmm.
third
Because,
prong of the
yeah,
line.
exactly. Because emotion replaces the place line most of
Hmm.
the time, predominantly.
Yeah, it's been a mad
Wow.
ride.
Exactly. And I hope you're still with us. I hope you still understand what we're saying. And there's a lot more to digest with it, but usually the people that the medium goes to, and you'll notice it a lot more now, is that usually a medium will say, you've got your mum's ring with you today, haven't you? Or you're wearing a watch, you're wearing something, as if they know that they've got the object line there. They can sense the object line, they can sense the person, and they're replacing the place line.
Yeah,
And that makes perfect sense. And I think we need to probably digest now our experiments and how we know that emotion replaces the place line.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
So we decided to do some experiments this weekend. We thought about, okay, what locations could we test this theory out with? Now, I lost my dad when I was young. I don't have a great deal of um, objects. It's mainly photos, that kind of thing. But one thing I do have is the plaque from the crematorium from when my dad passed and was cremated. So I do have that. It's been with me ever since. And before we we talk about the experiment, one thing that strange did happen to me over the last year that allowed me to think that the plaque could be something in it. I've never had any meaningful conversation and communication with my dad. But about a year ago, for various reasons, um, I tried to make contact with my family again. Long story, doesn't matter. But I'd sent this relative a message via text, um, say on the weekend, and I hadn't heard anything back for nearly a week. So I was in the process of selling my house and looking to move. So I was cleaning my dad's plaque and I became quite emotional. And I said, Dad, I'm trying to get the family back together. I don't know what else to do. What can I do? I've sent text messages to this person and whatnot. And literally a week had gone by. 9 minutes after I'd essentially called out for help, I get a text message from the person. And that was
Mm,
communication that started for a little while.
mm,
So, whilst I
mad.
didn't know about then, and it wasn't even on our radar for anything like this, it was something that showed that there was some kind of connection to my dad there somewhere.
Hmm.
So we decided to do an experiment on people, objects, and place. And we were
Hmm.
down south this weekend in
Hmm.
Oxfordshire. So we said, what better than we'll go to a cemetery where my nan and granddad are buried, which was my dad's
Hmm.
mum and dad. And on the headstone is my nan and my granddad, and also on the headstone on the grave itself, because they're buried in the same plot, was my dad and my uncle, their names and dates of birth and dates of death. And whilst they weren't there, that was obviously a massive emotional
Mm.
sort of location for the family. All the family weddings
Hmm.
and funerals all took place in that church. So we decided, let's do an experiment. Let's take my dad's plaque to that location and see
Hmm.
if we can get any meaningful communication, because we've got me
Hmm.
as the person, we've got the
Hmm.
object, my dad's plaque, and we've got the location. But we also decided to try, because we knew people would say, well, it could be biased, you're doing. So we've done a blind test. So we got two identical boxes. We put my dad's plaque in one box and we put a roll of sellotape, it turned out, packing tape into the other one. Um, we didn't know which was in each box, and I turned my back, and Sarah chose a box and put one of those boxes behind the grave. So there's no way I could have known what was in either of the boxes, although I knew where they were. I couldn't see in them. So
Hmm.
we ran the experiment twice. Once with the object, but not knowing it was the object, and once with the decoy, as we called it, not knowing it's a decoy.
Mhm.
And because it chucks out words, we decided to just write down what words came through when we asked a series of questions. There was no context put to those words at that moment. We just recorded what word came out during a 45-second question and a gap, basically. Then we moved on to the next question. We tried to keep it quick. So there
Mhm.
was no delay of words, and you could wait for a word to come through that eventually, just from probability, would come through. Um,
Mhm.
so we kept it quick, short, something we can replicate easy on a mass scale without it taking up too much time.
Mhm.
So we got my dad's plaque at the cemetery with, so we got three communication
Mhm.
lines. The gold,
Yeah.
like the the golden triangle, as it were, the gold dust
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
This would, in our mind, that could be quite possibly the strongest connection we will get on the phone line theory.
Mhm.
So we decided to try the cemetery
Mhm.
experiment.
We did. And we also, the questions,
Hmm.
one important thing to note is that we tried to keep the questions um as simple as possible, as
Yeah.
clear as possible, but we also had a control question
Yes.
so that we asked questions. I mean, I'll read them out in a
Yep.
second if you want.
Yep.
Um, and we threw a random control question in there in case we did get intelligent results from the other questions. The control question, if we didn't, would mean that that person was not able to answer outside of the three lines and questions relating to that. They
Yep.
weren't throwing out anything else. They weren't intelligent enough as such to acknowledge anything outside of whatever they've experienced or are aware of themselves.
And it also allowed us, because it was a controlled question, that you couldn't sort of like stretch to an answer and go, well, it could have meant that. It could have meant
Mhm.
that. As you'll hear when Sarah tells you the question, it's quite a blunt, straightforward. It's either right or wrong. There's no real subjectivity in it. It is what it is.
Mhm.
So we've ran the experiment twice. I done it with the decoy, not knowing, the object, not knowing. Then Sarah
Mhm.
also done the same thing, and I swapped the boxes, so she didn't know which box was which, and we repeated it. So we had an object, we had a location, but we didn't have the person potentially.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
decided, so it's essentially a double blind test.
And we wanted to know how significant the person line actually is.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So what were the questions? What did we go for?
So we went for, we did change these because again, we'll come on to it, but we redid the experiment at a different location and we added another question in. But the five that we started with were, can you give me a word that relates to where we are? Can you give me a word that relates you to me? Then we had a control question. Can you tell me what the weather is like? And then the last two were, can you give me a word that relates you to this location? So rather than a description of the current location that we're in, what relates you to it to try and dig a bit deeper onto its intelligence? And then the last one was, can you tell me something that relates to me? And it was the answers that, I mean, straight off, I can see, of my knowledge, there were three significant hits on those questions. You would say
Mm.
four.
And it was weird because once that particular box was done, I could tell straight away which box
Mhm.
was which. It became
Yeah,
obvious to me, which was quite mad thinking about it. And there's no
yeah,
bias in these words.
no.
These words, I'm just saying what word came out. It's not me going, I feel
Exactly.
like it's this, or,
You can't lie, you can't make it up. It's all factual. And
yep,
So when we asked these questions, the words that we got for your dad's plaque
Yeah.
was box A. It was the first one you did, but you weren't aware at the time. Can you give me a word that relates to where we are? The word tower came through,
Yeah.
and it means, doesn't mean it's your dad at that point. It was just whatever we were talking to recognized that we were stood beneath a tower. We were quite close to the church tower, weren't we?
And it's a big church as well. It's quite a prominent church.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we asked, can you give me a word that relates you to me? And the word mine came through. And that instantly, because I knew that was your dad's box. So when it came through mine, I was like, oh my goodness. Like the question before could have been a very themed answer, but as soon as you were the one it was asking about, it was like mine. That was
Hmm.
very clear. And then the last question for me was, can you tell me something that relates to me? And 49 came through, and that's your next birthday.
Yeah.
Just to out you a little bit there on your age.
Yeah. And just
You're
months
gonna be
away. It's
49.
not. It's not.
Exactly. Exactly. It's months away, and it's like when you get to your birthday that's like months away, you start saying, I'm gonna be 49 soon. Or it stops being I'm 48.
Hmm.
It's I'm gonna be 49. Or
Yeah.
and we've spoke about this in other parts of things as well. And then so those three questions really stuck out for me. The answers.
We had the control question,
Oh
and it said,
yes, yes,
"Can you tell me what the weather's like?" And the
that's
word
true, yeah.
above came. And I mean, again, you
It's a
could
theme.
argue that
Mm-hmm.
it's a theme. You could argue, well, that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really relate to weather, but above, that's where
Yeah,
the sky is. That's where the weather is. So, I
exactly.
mean, we didn't
Mm-hmm.
we used it, but we it wasn't as strong as
Yeah,
the other ones, for definite.
yeah. And then obviously when we did the tape, the decoy box, the questions were the same and we got nothing really of
No,
significance at all.
we didn't even get the weather on one of them. Not even an
No,
answer.
we got nothing. And so that was already a significant enough starting point because we don't know what we need to strengthen those lines properly yet.
No.
But that was enough for us to think we'd aligned them perfectly. The telephone lines, he was there on his end picking up, and we were picking up, and we were connecting somehow.
Yeah.
And the word mine made it personal. We
Yeah.
knew then it must have been your dad who we were calling for, who we were asking for because of the experiment. Like we
Yeah.
were putting his object in that place for you. As
Hmm.
soon as it said mine, we knew that this was the person it was intended to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And and then but what is interesting to note is between the experiment of you and me, the word blonde came up twice on each
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
Before we started the timing of the questions, blonde came up and then blonde came up again when we were moving the boxes,
Yeah.
as if they were going, who's the blonde? Like, who's the
Yeah.
blonde person? Or just acknowledging me somehow. So something was there.
Because you're relatively new in my life. Obviously, not so
Yeah,
much now. It's been a couple of years,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
in terms of longevity in 49 years, 2 years
Hmm.
is not that long. So yeah, it was an
Hmm.
interesting nod to the fact that you were there as well.
Yeah. It
And we
was
did
like it was,
introduce you though as well, didn't we? So
yeah, we did. Yeah. Yeah, we did. I mean, they might have been saying, I like the blonde.
I'm sure that's what it
Who's the
was.
blonde, Gray? But what is interesting though, oh no, I thought it was when we were moving between boxes, but I'm looking at the paperwork and it was actually on the first question for each box.
Yeah.
So the paperwork, can you give me a word that relates to where we are? This was blonde came through as the first word, and that was for your dad's plaque. But again, it came through on the decoy box, blonde, for the same question. So what that means, I've no idea. Um, but again, I didn't get anything at all, really,
No,
that
no.
kind of that clicked. So I didn't feel that I wasn't the right person. I was not the right person. And that whole experiment proved that we had the place, we had the object, and when it was you, the person, we got connection with the person we wanted, the spirit that we intended to connect with in some way. And
Yeah.
bear in mind, your dad's not done it before, so this is all quite weak. And again, you
Yeah.
can build that telephone line, you can build that connection. And that's why you go to a venue 9 times and it's quiet, and then the 10th time it's busy, and then it's busy every time then. And like, because, or the more you go somewhere, the more results you get because you're strengthening your phone line
Hmm.
because you're building that emotion as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we did a second test, didn't we?
We did. We did.
Just to test the place with more objects.
So after the cemetery, we headed back to where we were staying, and we decided that okay, we've tested the location, a person, an object, and we had all three with me. So let's then try it where we were staying. So we removing the location bit, but keeping the object and the person to see if by removing location anything happens to the experiment and the strength of the communication. And interestingly, we had three boxes this time. So we had
Hmm.
my dad's plaque, we had the roller packing tape as the decoy, and we had an object of your mum's, which was a
Hmm.
dress that she'd worn.
Hmm.
So we both had an object connecting us to people that we loved, that we've lost, and a decoy. So we ran the experiment three times. But what we
Hmm.
did was, so we got three exact same boxes. They're exactly the same size. Weight's not an issue because a dress, a plaque, and a roll of sellotape are different weights. But because we were unaware of the box's contents, we didn't move it. It was just in there, it sat there in front of us. We couldn't have told the weight anyway. So we couldn't see it. We couldn't feel it for weight. So we didn't know what was in the box.
And
But
the
we
other
also
person
did,
had moved them.
yeah, so the other person moved them, and the other person also had the option to swap the objects between boxes. So we couldn't recognize which box had which object because obviously we're moving them
Hmm.
backwards and forwards and whatnot.
Yeah.
And where we introduced the third box, it was a fresh box. So it would have been quite obvious that that box was not quite as worn as the others had been
Mm.
in and out of my car all day. So we had three three experiments to run. We done it at 30 seconds instead of 45 seconds because we recognize that time doesn't
Hmm.
seem to be a factor in this.
Hmm.
And if we're going to get responses quick, they're more likely to relate to that question rather than waiting 2 minutes to see if
Mm.
something comes through, which, in terms of
Hmm.
science, I know we're not doing science, it's not controlled in a massive way, but it just means we can rule out any sort of vague word that comes through that wasn't meant for that question, but we kind of tying it in.
Hmm.
So that's what we did. We ran the same experiment
Hmm.
with the Buchel and
Same
the watch.
questions.
Same questions, same questions. Although we added one question in at the end,
Hmm.
which was
It was, can you tell me about this object? Because we recognized that the questions before were all about the person and the place,
yeah,
and we didn't really ask about the object. So,
correct.
I don't know why we didn't, but we decided, we'll add it in here on this one.
Yeah,
Um, so we had 6 questions to ask.
we did. So on the farm, we'll call it, because we stayed on a farm. There was no connection in terms of place, so that place line was missing. We had two objects that resonated with both of us and a decoy. So we could now see if the place line being missing caused the sort of connection to be weaker.
Mhm.
And hopefully we were able to prove that. And we kind of did. We kind of did.
Mhm. Yeah.
So nothing massively came through that,
No.
like at the cemetery, nothing specifically came through that you could go, oh, actually, yeah. We couldn't tell, either of
Mm.
us, which was which box, really.
No.
It was a bit
It was a
sort
bit
of
scatty.
bit scary, bit random, not really
Couldn't
tied in
relate
with much.
to
No.
couldn't really relate to the words. I mean, only vaguely. There was a couple of things that might have tallied up very, very vaguely.
Yeah.
Um, such as when I was using mum's dress and I got the question was, can you tell me something that relates to me? And the word Michael came through. And that very, very loosely sort of connects to me because Michael was mum's funeral director. And he was a brilliant guy, and my mum would have loved Michael. And we said all the story throughout this whole process that my mum would have loved Michael.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I could think of that really that kind of connected, but nothing strong enough.
Yeah. Yeah. So we ran the experiments and we it almost confirmed the location bit
Mm,
for us,
hmm
that you need the location even if you've got the object and the person. This was all blind tested as well. So we said, well, we are just reading words off a screen. It's not subjective. It's completely
hmm
open. There's no hiding from the word. So we said, why don't we take the objects out of the box? Let's look at
mm,
our objects. Let's,
yeah. And it is important to note that we had discussions that day
mm,
about emotion
yeah,
replacing the place line.
yes,
So it wasn't completely random, that decision is we didn't get any hits and we weren't in the right place. So we were like, let's test it then. Let's
yeah,
test it and open our emotion up by knowing what we're speaking to, knowing the
yes,
object in front of us.
yeah, and see if that makes a difference. And boy, that made a difference.
Oh yeah. Before we'd
So,
even began the next experiment with emotion involved,
yeah,
you got massive hits instantly.
so we changed it to three specific questions for this. One was,
One was tell me about the object, tell me about yourself, and tell me about me.
yeah,
Very,
so we,
very personal, very specific emotional questions, really.
and literally before I'd even asked the first question, the initial B came out twice and the name Gregory came out.
Mm,
Now, to other people, probably wouldn't mean much. Gregory might, but the plaque, my dad was called Douglas, but that was his second name. His first name, and on the plaque, is Brian. That was his real name. So we had B come through.
hmm
Then we had a second B come through. My mum's name is Brenda.
hmm
And then after that, the name Gregory came through. And whilst not specifically my name, and I will fucking argue that till the death,
You are just Greg.
I'm just Greg, the name Gregory come through, which is essentially the name Greg. And we had discussions about this ourselves, saying,
Mhm.
am I really a Gregory?
Did your
Which
dad
I'm
want
not.
to call you Gregory?
Yep.
Did he
Uh,
prefer it?
so I actually texted my mum and said, random
Mm,
question, mum, was I ever going to be called Gregory? She said no. I haven't explored it further than that, but
yeah. I mean,
we
you never know.
even,
Your dad may
yeah,
never have told your mum, but he might have
yeah,
always thought, it should be Gregory. But he's never said it to your mum.
yeah, exactly. But the fact that Gregory came through when my name's Greg is quite prominent,
Mm.
even more so with the two, the initial B coming through twice when
Yeah.
it's all
Essentially,
random.
you've got all your names of your family all of a sudden all at once, like your little family unit that you had with your mum, your dad,
Mm.
and you. We're suddenly all named.
Yep. And I'm an only child, so there was no
Hmm.
other. There was the three of
Hmm.
us.
Yeah. It was like as soon as, I mean, before we'd even started the experiment, we'd had the object and the person there for a long time before that emotion side
Mm.
because we were doing the experiment. So as soon as we opened up the floodgates of that emotion, which replaced the place sign, suddenly it spouted all these words from your dad, hopefully, because he was already there and waiting and he just needed
Yeah.
that connection to be strong enough. And as soon as it was, B, Gregory, come
Hmm.
through. I
Mad.
mean, I got on mine when I did the emotion line experiment with my mum. Again, I didn't get any massively strong hits. But with the question, tell me about this object. Now, I didn't use my mum's dress this time. I used my mum's wedding ring.
Hmm.
And on that question, tell me about this object, the word emerald came through. And you could, at a stretch, relate it to jewelry and rings. But I felt like the words were very themed
Yeah.
and not really specific. But again, that leads us to an experiment we need to do even more, which is what if I'm not the chosen person? So she can only throw themes at me and nothing direct. Because I've got a twin sister, and I know that Emma would have needed my mum in life and did need mum in life more than I did. So in spirit, my mum is going to be with Emma because Emma would need her more in spirit than I'd need her.
Yeah.
And so I don't think my mum would have chosen me as the direct line if she could only have one. So I feel like although she kind of resonates, she's not my direct line. I'm not her direct line person-wise. So I'll only ever get themed. But one other thing quickly to note on both of us is we both got the same answer on the same question again.
We
What
did.
context that is, I don't know, but we both got the word close or close, whichever one, when we asked, tell me about this object. And we're obviously both close to the objects that we're holding, but we both got the same word, and there was a lot of that repetitive
Hmm.
pattern throughout our whole weekend of experiments. We both got the words, I say words, we both got the number 91 through, which
Yeah.
obviously that's the year that your dad died. And
Yeah.
and you asked your dad's plaque, tell me about me, and 91 come through.
Yeah.
He could be saying, like, I left you in 91, do you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
about you in that way. And
Yeah.
we got it on something else as well without, I've not got it directly in front of me, but 91 came through again when we were talking about your dad.
Yeah. And this is all learning for us. So we're on a bit of a journey, and I think it could well be that my dad's on a bit of a journey now. Now we've opened this communication line and we realise that there can be some kind of communication. Like I say, this weekend I've had more
Hmm.
communication with my dad. I say my dad. I don't know,
Hmm.
obviously. Nobody knows who it. But I've had more communication this weekend than I've had in 34 years by asking specific questions that we needed to know. I had an object, the person and location, and then we removed the location, but I still had the person and object, me and the object, the plaque, and the emotional line was open because we were looking at these objects. So it's it's been a revelation, and it
Hmm.
for me it confirms more the telephone line theory, the fact that there is somebody on the end of the phone now, like when I'm trying to communicate and I pick up my line.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's a chunky one to digest.
Yeah.
But we think we are potentially onto understanding the whys behind the best way to investigate. Now, this obviously doesn't stand for capturing an apparition on camera or a spirit box because we've not at that stage to look at that. But this is just purely for direct communication. And obviously, the Bucor words are a good way to hit emotion, and emotion is playing a huge part in it all. It's replacing lines, and words are the best and easiest and quickest way to get something across when you're communicating. So a word bank is a really useful tool, and the one we've developed, I know this sounds very salesy of me, but the one we've developed has given us the best results we've ever had, and even when we were experimenting, it has really proven our theories, and I would highly recommend you get one.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
and and that's not just me saying that. I am not. I'm obviously biased, but I'm not biased when I say it. But this whole basis of the theory is basically to put it in simple terms. But recent spirits need three lines to connect direct communication with the living.
Yeah,
They need to pick up their end of the telephone, and we need to pick up our end of the telephone. And to do that and have clear lines, you need three conditions to be right: person, object, place. If you're not in the right place, emotion can substitute that line. And when they no longer have an anchor to the living, or you're not the person that they are choosing to communicate directly with, things become a little bit more residual, a little bit looser, a little bit more themed rather than specific. And the longer that goes on, then the more residual it becomes until communication dissipates completely.
yeah,
And and that's it, basically, in a 20-second nutshell. It's quite complex, really, when you dig into all the little bits and pieces, but
yeah,
generally, you're picking up the phone and you need three conditions to do so.
yeah. And that is our theory condensed down from weeks and months of just
Mhm.
testing things out, saying, what about this? What about this? Oh,
Mhm.
we've had that result there. What maybe that means that? Oh, what if that means that? Or maybe location is important,
Yeah.
or maybe it's just a person, or maybe need the object. And that has given us that
Mhm.
those three
Yeah.
person, object, and place pop.
Yeah.
Um, and
And oh,
it's been insane. And just to go back to like the boo call, we've had like weird residual responses. Me and Ash, when we've been at Cannock Chase, we've been talking um, about our book, and the word book came through
mhm.
of all words, and then
Yeah.
forest, and then spooky. It's just weird
Yeah.
stuff.
And very strangely, going on to specifics, is when we were I was having a conversation with my sister about someone someone that we know. So obviously Craig owns Stoke Museum and the house with GTI. We were just
Yeah.
talking about that, and we mentioned Craig's name, and Craig came through on the Bucor at that time.
Yes.
And we were like, oh my goodness, what are the chances? And it happens all the time. The week before my mum died, and I've got no problem coming out with it, and I have before, but my mum drowned, and there was a certain person involved, and their name came through the week before
Hmm.
on the Bucor, and the words were very much water, pool. And we actually made a point of saying it's very water themed this week. These
Mm.
words are very water themed. And then my mum drowned the next week. And obviously the name that was thrown out at the same time that weekend was a person sort of semi-involved in all of that.
Mm.
And it was like everything just, again, without context, it wasn't paranormal until
No.
we knew what had happened.
Yeah.
But these words coming through, whatever it is about the Bucor, and that's the next thing, is we need to try it with different spirit boxes and things like that and different words. Of course we do. But if it if it doesn't, there's something about the Bucor that just nothing else has. And we need
Yeah.
to look at why that is the case.
And it's like you say, we've had so many remarkable words come through that have been super relevant. And maybe it's because we use it so often, like all the time we're using it, that we
Hmm.
recognize that the words have got more meaning. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe
Hmm.
because we use it all the time, we're aware of what words have come up before. So if we go
Mm.
back to Priest Cottage, for example, and we get the word apple come through, that just reinforces a lot of the stuff that why is it's got no location based
Hmm.
triggering. It's got hasn't and doesn't use microphone. It's all coded based on environmental factors
Mm.
and certain movement triggers, and it's irrelevant really what the
Mm.
trigger is. The fact
Mm.
that a word's coming through, and it's
Exactly.
like you mentioned right at the start, the word is what gives it context,
Mm.
and
I mean,
without
even
context it's not paranormal.
no, it's not. But I mean, I've even thought about, does the Bucor detect changes in our own, like, you know, bioenergy, and
Yeah,
is that what it's detecting and picking up on? It's sort of tapping into our emotion and all of that, and our person and emotion line, and you know, I don't know. I've no idea. Is the sensitivity so much that it can detect that when Dan Spragg picks up the device, his son was there emotionally, and fluctuated and flung out his name.
it's
We just won't
interesting.
know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And just taking it back to another podcast that I'd listened to just in recent episodes about EVPs and such like and spirit boxes. There's a box called Frank's box, and that used a cheap electric condensing microphone, right? This guy who developed it, he was allegedly told by aliens and entities to put this particular type of microphone in. Didn't know why, but they theorized on this podcast, the people that do Helia and develop the Estes method, they were saying that some of the cheap electronics and like the cheaper side of it allows the spirits to manipulate stuff easier.
Mm.
So, like the Bucor itself, it doesn't cost
It's not
thousands of
cheap, by
pounds.
the way.
It's not cheap, but it's not like you're not
Yeah, yeah.
talking hundreds of pounds.
No,
It's
you're
a
not.
relatively inexpensive piece of equipment
Yeah, it is
in real
really.
terms. And
It's not unobtainable to the everyday person.
no, exactly. You're not
Hmm.
talking, you don't have to be a rich person to invest in the equipment to get some what appears to be incredible responses.
Hmm.
But you have to remember what's paranormal to me
Hmm.
may not be paranormal to you. And that's why
Hmm.
one of our sort of like taglines for Beyond Our Ordinary is it's your investigation, it's
Hmm.
your story.
Yeah.
Because the word Gregory, B and B coming through to Margaret down the road, who's got one, potentially
Hmm.
means absolutely bugger all.
Yeah,
But for me, at that moment, that time, that location, with that object and those words meant everything to me.
exactly. And even now, even this telephone line theory, to someone listening to this, they might be thinking, oh, what a load of rubbish. It's coincidence. But to us, this is very interesting stuff, potentially explains a lot of the whys around paranormal, or the hows. Never mind the cues, the whats, and the whys. This is
Yeah.
covering the how.
Yeah.
But
And this isn't us just coming up with it just before the podcast and talking about it. This is us. We've been thinking
mm,
about this over the last year.
yeah,
We've been putting in place and recognizing patterns of information that's come through
mm,
when we've been out on
mm,
location, multiple locations,
yeah,
different histories, different people, different objects.
mm,
It's this is a culmination and an ongoing piece of
Mm,
work for
it
us
is.
to come up with it. And we've come up with this theory, which makes sense. You
It
pick up the phone
does.
line, the spirit wants to pick up the phone line. If you pick it up with the right conditions and at the right time, boom.
And we've proven it so far.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean,
We
if
even,
anyone's listening,
yeah.
go on, what were you gonna say?
No, you carry on. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, if anyone's listening before Saturday, before we do Spook and Spirit Fest on the 29th, we would love to, if you're coming along, come and chat to us about it. And we'd love to know what you think about this theory before then. If there's any questions that you've got or anything you want to do, and if you want to bring an object along with you, feel free. We're going to have boxes, we're going to have paperwork. Take paperwork away with you. Use a word box, use our word box. Document your own findings under the same experiment. Let us know. Come and chat to us. And if you're listening after Spook and Spirit Fest, I hope you bought a book or I hope you bought a book or and I hope you took away a pack to do your own experiments under the same conditions with, or I hope you did it with us there. And I would love to know your thoughts on all of this. Would you want to hear more? Do you want us to delve into this more or the different ways you want us to look at things? Does it hold up for you? Like, let us know your thoughts on this, and you know, and message Pursuit of the Paranormal or message Beyond Our Ordinary on socials as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
This is an opportunity for us to get people to try the experiment, even if you don't use it. And I don't know why you wouldn't use it with our equipment, but if you want to use it with your own word banks, if there are any, but joking aside, we can give you. I can download the template from the website. We can sort something out anyway. But if you come and see us on Saturday at Priest
Hmm.
Cottage, take a couple of sheets of paper. We'll print out a load. Take some, try it on different
Yeah.
locations, try it at your
Hmm.
own house, try it with your friends,
Hmm.
photocopy it, get it out to as many people as you want. We can email it to you. We can do
Hmm.
all of that. What I'll tell you what we can do. I'll tell you what we can do. We can put it on um, beyondourourdinary.shop.
Hmm.
So our website, we can put it as a free digital download as well. So you can just
Yeah.
go on there and get it for free, and you'll get the PDF version. We'll sort that out this week as well
Hmm.
before
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how we're going to condense all of that into like 10, 15 minutes. So we're going to have to really think about, because we're doing a workshop. So we're going to be doing, I don't know if you know, if you've obviously not been yet, we're doing a workshop and we are going to do a very brief 10-minute cover of this phone line theory. And then we're going to do an experiment there and then on Saturday. We're going to replicate what we've done on Saturday. And
Hmm.
we are going to see what we find, see if we can repeat what we've already had. You know, do it blindfolded, do it not blindfolded, and just see if that emotion line plays into it again. And it's interesting. So yeah, it's going to be a good day, I think, for Boo.
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe it is. And we will have a Bucor for sale, probably only one, and we'll be taking back
Mm,
orders if people
yeah.
are interested in them. Um, but come along and have a look at the device. They're a great piece of kit. I know we're biased, certainly to a certain level, but we believe in it.
Hmm.
We believe in the device.
And
And
people that
like,
have used our device have gotten excellent results as well.
yeah, there are a few of these out in the wild as well. So it'd be interesting to speak to people. There's one of them in America, for
Hmm.
example. So we're only going to be able to gather more data to prove this theory the more people we get to do it. So at the very least, come and take a sheet of paper that Sarah has developed, to allow us to record the questions, record the
Mhm.
answers, and certain key information on there. Not loads, but enough
Mhm.
that we can get the information we need. And all you're doing is writing down on the sheet the words that come out. We're not asking you to answer the
Mhm.
question, just record the answer.
Mhm. And highlight the ones that you feel were meaningful to you.
Yep, yep. And that way we can try and work out which one is the most important person, object,
Mhm.
place, because we can only do so many experiments between us two,
Exactly. Mhm.
and we need the wider audience to help us. So come and see us
Yeah,
Saturday, Spook and Spirits
exactly.
Fest, Priest Cottage, Armley Road, Leeds. We're there all day. We've got
Mhm.
t-shirts, we've got tripwires, and a boot core. So come and say hello.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I
So
do
yeah,
like that. But yeah, thanks for getting to the very end of this. It must be about an hour and a half long,
at
at
least.
least.
So yeah, thanks all, and let us know your thoughts. Welcome any
Yeah.
feedback.
Let us know if you want a boo takeover part three.
Yes. Well, it'd be
Thanks for
good
having
to
me.
it'd be good to like months down the line, so in the new year, sort of recap any sort of sheets that have come back to us, anybody that's contacted us,
Hmm.
what happened at Spooks and Spirits Fest. I think it'd be really cool. I
Yeah,
think
I
it'd be really
do.
cool.
And if all
But
of this theory comes to nothing, the journey getting there was interesting.
oh, we've enjoyed it. And when people say to
Exactly.
us, "What do you do in spare time?" Well, we're working on this theory and talking for hours. And if we're not doing that, we're in um, a church in a lost village somewhere in Oxfordshire,
Oh,
more
don't,
than
because we'll
likely,
be here for another hour and a half talking about our whole weekend and our abandoned church experience in this abandoned village.
where the church was open at night.
Greg, maybe we should just start our own podcast.
Yeah, maybe we
Sorry,
should.
Ash.
Maybe we should.
Maybe
They
we
can go
should
on
start one.
Pursuit the Paranormal Podcast Network.
Yeah, there you
That'll be
go.
that'll be another one
Yeah.
on the list.
Oh, the
Unconventional
adventures of
ufologist.
Sarah and Greg.
Yeah,
The
car
stuff we
waffle,
get up to.
car
Yeah.
waffle. Anyway, right, we're going. It's 11:30 at night. I still need to edit this, and we want to get it out now. So I'll speak to you in a bit.
See you later, guys. Thanks for
Bye.
listening. Bye.